Today we welcome Member of Parliament Garnett, Genuis, representing the Conservative Party of Canada. Our conversation today will focus on the Conservative position on supporting Ukraine, Canada's role among allies, and the future challenges for peace and security. The war in Ukraine continues into its third year and Canada remains a strong supporter. But political debates in Ottawa raised questions about how that support should look moving forward. Do you believe Canada is doing enough in terms of military aid, sanctions, and humanitarian support, or is there a need for stronger support?
Well, I think there are a number of areas where we need to do more. The current government has talked a good game on Ukraine, but we've been critical of them, especially for granting sanctions waivers. So that's they impose sanctions, but then as a result of kind of special pleading by industry representatives, they fold or they create holes in them. And our sanctions are only as effective as our willingness to consistently uphold them. So first it was the sanctions waiver around Siemens turbines, and we prosecuted that very effectively a couple of years ago. Eventually the government changed its position. But shortly afterwards, they introduced a sanctions waiver for the titanium industry, allowing Russian titanium to be brought into Canada. And these kinds of waivers, I mean, the Russian titanium industry is directly responsible for so many civilians' deaths. They're a key part of the Russian military machine. We should not in any way be supporting that industry. We should be developing our own resources here, creating jobs here for Canadians as an alternative. But the other issue is just the role we can play in displacing Russian energy resources, and we've been talking about this
in the
previous interviews, exactly. That by developing our natural resources, we can replace Russian gas from other countries. So these are critical economic steps that are clearly also in Canada's economic interest that we could take. But I think, unfortunately, the government has not been supportive enough of moving forward with, they haven't been supportive at all of moving forward with the kinds of nation-building infrastructure that we need to displace Russian gas. And then, look, military aid is critical. Other forms of assistance are critical. And our position has been to recognize the importance, the need for these supports, and to always call on the government to stand with Ukraine and to be actively engaged supporting Ukraine in every way that we can.
Critics sometimes suggest Canada's contribution is symbolic compared to larger allies. What is your response to that, and how can Canada maximize its impact despite limited resources?
Yeah, I don't think it's symbolic. I think it's significant. But we have, I think, missed the opportunity to recognize our unique capacities around energy and how we really, it's our vocation in the democratic world. Most of the world's democracies are relatively geographically small, more densely populated countries that rely on energy imports. So Canada plays a unique role if we develop our natural resources. So the elements of military and other forms of aid are important. I think we can also do more to supply surplus materials from Canada, military materials, and we've made specific recommendations around surplus materials that we think could be transferred to Ukraine. So look, we support the actions that have been taken to date, but I think there are additional things we can do in these areas.
Canada is a NATO and G7 member, but allied unity is being tested as the war drags on. Some countries are showing some signs of fatigue. Should Canada take on more leadership, for example, in coordinating sanctions enforcement or reconstruction planning for Ukraine?
I think we have seen within NATO some pressure for countries that have not been meeting their military spending targets to meet those targets. And I think it is critically important that we fulfill our obligations, and also that we maximize the effectiveness of our spending in that context. We should meet the spending targets, but we also should be ensuring we're maximizing the impact of that military spending. I think what is important for all NATO allies is to see that other NATO allies are meeting their obligations. And Canada should not be a laggard in that regard. For a long time, the Liberal government was failing to adequately invest in developing our own military capacity, and that really needs to change. Look, the other thing is that we can do more to provide certainty to our arms manufacturers and suppliers about the needs that we will have in terms of purchasing, and also use that to benefit allies. So there's, again, lots of things we can be doing more of as a country within the alliance to demonstrate its value.
Just recently, Russian drones violated Polish airspace,
Yes.
a stark reminder of how close this war is to NATO's border. So what does this escalation mean for NATO's collective security, and how should Canada respond?
Yeah, look, it's extremely serious. I think there is a risk of not learning the lessons we should learn from the 1930s, right? Which was when you have an aggressive, bloody-minded dictator with an agenda for domination, that is not limited by borders or by alliances. He will look for opportunities to ever expand his power, and the only language he understands in response is a commitment to hard resistance in the context of aggression. Look, that's why we need to support Ukraine, because Ukraine is the front line of the struggle we are all a part of. So the incursion into Poland is very serious. It should remind us of how all NATO countries must be invested in a victory for Ukraine, because if Ukraine is not victorious, this will not end conflict. It will just be the continuation and further escalation of conflict onto our own countries.
Is Canada prepared to deal with the possibility of Russian attacks spilling into NATO territory?
Well, I think we need to do more to strengthen our own armed forces, and this is something Conservatives have been calling for a long time. Is the NATO allies that are Poland especially, and others that are in Eastern Europe have seen this for a long time and have been really building up their military capacity. A decade ago, most NATO countries weren't meeting their 2% GDP requirement. Now most countries are, and many are going beyond it. So Canada needs to build up its capacity, and this is something we have long called for.
While military support is urgent now, Canada will also face challenges in shaping long-term peace and security. Beyond Ukraine, what global security challenges should Canada prepare for in the next decade?
Yeah. Well, I have for a long time been talking about the fact that we are in a new kind of Cold War. And to describe it as a new kind of Cold War isn't to take away from the fact that there is actual fighting happening in many places, including Ukraine. But we are into a kind of geopolitical environment that has the basic contours of what we're dealing with against the Soviet Union, which is great powers with rival political systems that are competing in every part of the world, in every continent. Some manifestations of that are warfare. In other cases, it's competition over resources, access to different governments. So we need to think very strategically in that context about how to contend with the opponents of freedom and democracy everywhere they are. I've talked in Parliament about Russia's activities in Africa, for example, as really maybe an under-discussed and underappreciated but very important element of this global Cold War we're in. So engaging with like-minded partners and trying to build partnerships around the world in support of freedom and democracy, and in support of secure channels for resources among like-minded countries. These kinds of things are just of critical importance. The war happening in Ukraine, it's part of that global context of the fight for freedom and democracy that's happening everywhere.
I have to mention that some Canadians are concerned about the financial cost of long-term support. How do you explain to Canadians why this is really important for us?
I think it's unfortunate that we didn't move harder, faster, earlier. The failure to provide urgent and timely support, announcements with long delays, just extends these conflicts and leads to further costs for all of us. If if this war drags on, if Ukraine is not victorious, we would pay the price for that in terms of threats to our own security, costs to our own well-being. What I want, I think what Canadians want, is to recognize the urgency of achieving a Ukrainian victory. Yes, I think we should be there as long as it takes. We should also try to support a Ukrainian victory as fast as possible to minimize the harm, minimize the cost. And foresight, effective planning in advance, it does minimize harm and costs down the line. So we need to be very strategic and prudential about seeing these risks. Our adversaries plan with a long-term horizon in mind. We have to plan with that long-term horizon in mind as well.
What do you want to wish to all Ukrainians who are fighting right now for their own independence and their own country?
Well, I think we don't say this enough. I want to say thank you to, as a Canadian, thank you to Ukrainian soldiers who are fighting. Ukrainian soldiers are fighting for their own country, but they are also fighting for the global cause of freedom and democracy. They are fighting to preserve that front line between the democratic free world and the unfree, oppressed world. So I want to salute the courage of those who are fighting and those who are involved in the war effort in all sorts of different ways. And particularly as a Canadian, I want to say thank you for what you're doing to defend the cause of freedom and democracy that our security depends on.
Our guest today was Member of Parliament Garnett Genuis from Conservative Party of Canada. Thank you for your time and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.